And then Twitch is fine, but YouTube's a little bit slow. There we go. We are live now, I think. That's what he says. Hello, everyone. Discovery Season 5, Episode 10 finale, eventually. Life itself, and this is going to be a long one because the episode was an hour and 26 minutes. Wow. I'm joined as always by Mr. Gray. Sorry, Gray?
I was saying that was like 2 episodes in one.
Well, yeah.
So.
Very good reason for it, though. They didn't know when they were at the end of that season that it was going to be the last ever episode in season, so they decided to come back and film a little bit extra, which some people liked, some people didn't like. But first of all, right off the bat, getting the paperwork out of the way, come along to our Discord and say hello at Extreme Gaming Podcast. Just search for it on the Googles. You will find us because we now run the gaff. Yes, that's right. Grey Gamer and ourselves run the Discord there, mainly centered around gaming, but there's Star Trek content in there for the Trekway, and Grey's monthly podcast, Grey's Green Room, which is entertainment, shenanigans in Hollywood, all the cool hot stuff that's out there in the cinema and the streaming universe. I will need to get a date sorted for the next one, Grey. Definitely, that's not been done yet. And I think we'll basically just kick off now. Gray, I did read through your notes a little bit, well, a lot actually, and I thought to myself, why is he so negative? And then I remembered, you don't particularly like this, which I get, but I was looking for you to be a bit more balanced.
I wouldn't say exactly like that, because the last episode I liked a lot, but these were some things I wasn't knocking it because of it being Discovery.
Yeah.
What I was knocking it a little bit, as you'll see when we go on, was just stuff that it just seemed like it just was unbelievable to me. Again, back to the easy writing kind of thing, or the crutch complex, or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah. What did you think of the length of the episode? Was that a problem?
I didn't have any problem. You could pretty much clearly see it look like 2 episodes, because there's kind of when you get to the middle, there's kind of a point where you see it kind of end-ish.
Yeah.
Kind of, and then it just kind of like goes in there. So I didn't have a problem with it. I mean, it was either that or split it into 2 more episodes, so it was fine.
That is true. We did wonder if they were going to be longer this episode, and turns out they were. I mean, for me, taking some bullet points and notes down, that seemed to go on forever, I must admit. I mean, wow, an extra half an hour really kills the old typing. Yeah. But anyway, right, we will jump into it. If anyone is watching live, has any comments on it, or even those that watch it afterwards, give us your opinion if you think it was pants or not, because it's mixed emotions, to be fair. It was a bit of a crazy start to this episode, Gray. Safe to say, I've seen this element done before in various things throughout film, where someone's stuck in a kind of infinity type landscape, right? You keep running and it just seems like never ending. And this is where Burnham finds herself. When she went in, she took a header right into that the progenitor tech last time, and we thought, right, okay, what's on there? She could be absolutely mincemeat. No one has a clue what's happening, but she remembers the phrase that was given to her before she went in. I don't recall what the phrase is, but she then tries to figure out what to do, but makes a bit of an arse of it and kind of falls down the platform onto the ground. Now, first of all, there is a nitpick here, and I think we both share this. She falls down, but when she looks down, Gray, it looks like it's like mountainous and cold, and it could have been the north of Scotland for all I bloody know. I mean, that looked about right. Yeah. And it wasn't very nice, and it looked like quite a bit of a drop. But she falls down, and she hurts herself, but she's okay. So it's a very misleading.
I don't know. I was trying, because they
should be
the
dead.
Slow motion. Yeah, they did like a slow motion thing. So I'm going like, all right, so did she really fall far, and that's why it's slow motion, or did they slow motion because she wasn't?
It's falling in slowly.
yeah, she wasn't really falling that fast. They don't really make it clear, and again, they just want you to accept stuff, and I'm like, no, I don't want to accept stuff. Make it a little more realistic-ish. It doesn't have to be perfect, but so I'm just kind of like, wow, man, she hit the ground. I'm sitting there going like, she should be like totally like, bleh. She just kind of like, and I'm up.
Yeah, a little bit of a stiff back, and we're good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a bit far fetched, but it doesn't ruin the episode. It's just that's what we do. We nitpick and we moan a little bit, Grey and I, and we're entitled to. And then she sees a Breen soldier, one of the Breen soldiers that came through prior, and she's trying to, before she can even finish her sentence, let's work together. She's given something that could only come out of a WWE show. Like, she's speared right in the middle. I'm expecting the referee to come over and do a count to three. Absolutely smacked by the Breen soldier. But of course, she kicks the Breen soldier's arse because she is superior in hand-to-hand combat against a lot of people. And I don't find that far-fetched, Gray, because she's trained with the best of them, including Vulcans, on how to fight. So she can hold her own. But she kind of... No, she doesn't smash the Breen soldier's face in. We see another Breen soldier who's had his visor like bashed in a bit, and I'm thinking it's pretty grim. But she does take him out, and then there was the gust of this is the bit that leads up to how she escapes, right? That's just batshit crazy.
It's too much.
So
let's go ahead. We'll get into it.
There's gusts of wind. I'm going to say gusts of wind, hurricane levels, right? To the point where, okay, I can maybe accept that her and the soldier were holding on by just literally holding on to the rock. I can maybe accept that. You could withstand a hurricane for a brief period of time by holding on to something. But then she kind of kicks him off and he goes flying, bye-bye. And then the gust of wind stops. And then she's still got, like, in the miniature version of Sora built into the Discovery's computer. And she then sees the portal above that she kind of fell through, and then she sees a rock right under it, and I'm thinking, who's that geezer? Who's that guy? Knievel. What's the danger boy?
Oh, Evil Knievel.
Evil Knievel. That's it. Yeah, I'm thinking she's going to get out her stunt bike, and she's going to do the whoop right up there. She's going to. It's going to come out of her gauntlet, Gray. Like our little, things that the phasers come out of, right? And I'm thinking it's a bit far-fetched. But no, to be fair, I loved this and I hated it. She was trying to time it. She was trying to do the math and stuff, right? But so basically, she says to the computer, right, when's the next gust of wind? Okay, it's due in a few seconds, right? And then she does the whole... She gets down, right? She's at the Olympics, Gray, and you hear the deep breath.
Yeah,
and then
she's a track star.
And then she goes, and then she runs up onto the rock, and then as the gust is about to hit her, she does the big leap, and she eventually grabs onto the platform. And I'm thinking, it looks cool, but that's bullshit.
It is total bullshit. And it didn't even look that cool. Like I had mentioned, the only thing I could think of was Mary Poppins. I mean, it was... it looked like it. All she needed was the umbrella.
That's it. The umbrella, and she was good, man. Oh, no. So, yeah, safe to say, Gray, far-fetched. Very far-fetched indeed, as you say. Of course, Moll is down there because she went in ahead. Or was it? She went in ahead of Burnham. So we knew she was kicking about somewhere. And I'm guessing it's Moll that probably took out that busted Breen soldier we see on the ground. Because she's kind of only using the Breen for her own needs. That's fine. She's not big fans of the Breen or Starfleet, as it turns out. They kind of agreed to work together initially, but the thing is, they kind of have to a little bit because Moll's a little bit bashed up. I don't know if one of the Breen got to her, but kind of shoot her up pretty bad on the leg. But obviously, Burnham does a decent thing of the little magic gauntlet that can bloody replicate anything. It's a dermal regenerator. She throws it over and heals herself. And she's got the gun. Moll's got the gun on her. They agree to... Well, actually, Burnham wants her to get rid of the gun. And all she does is actually just lower it. I would have just told her, like, listen, get rid of the weapon or I'm not helping you. Shoot me. Go ahead, shoot me. You won't know the clue that I've got then. So, That's acceptable just to have your gun down like that instead of throwing away. You're not going to trust her. Obviously, you're not going to trust her. It was a bit far-fetched.
I'm guessing that maybe she did that because Burnham can make the phaser come out of thin air. She technically is always armed.
But
so
she did try that at the start, and did it not get kicked out of her hand when they're having a fight? Or is that later?
I think so. Or that came right after.
I don't think you can get unlimited. It basically stores that phaser in like a little tiny. Yeah. So once you lose it, I think you're screwed. I think.
Yeah, I would think.
Can't prove it.
Either that, or I would just have it make me a bazooka and get it over with.
Can you imagine? Just Maul will be a pancake. Maul pancakes. Yeah, so they kind of agreed to work together until they don't. It doesn't really last long at all. And that's when you get a pretty epic fight between Maul and Burnham. Now, I say pretty epic because those two are a lot more evenly matched hand-to-hand combat. Maul's very good at fighting, so it goes on for a hot moment or two. And then, of course, it gets a bit far-fetched, more so than we just discussed. We also see Discovery as well, padding between the scenes. The Discovery is getting mashed up a little bit because while they made the escape from the Dreadnought, you've got all these Breen fighters on the way as Discovery's trying to get to the portal first. I'm thinking initially, why the hell are we not firing back Discovery and flying at the same time? That's why you have a bridge crew, so you can multitask. You also have an advanced starship. You should be able to do both at the same time, people.
You can afford it.
But you've got a little bit of a rant here, Gray. I think it was about both sections.
Yes, I had two rants. One was that Burnham talked to Maul twice. First time she said, we need to work together because, I know something, you know things, and we need to combine ourselves. And so they both agree, no issues. And even Burnham was saying, we fight, it's not going to get us anywhere, so let's just go. Okay. So they start walking and talking or whatever. And the next thing you know, all of a sudden Burnham out of nowhere kicks the legs out from underneath Maul and starts beating her up, and that's when the fight started.
Do we know why?
And I'm going like,
I don't think I remember why.
Oh, no, the point, she said something but it didn't matter. The point is that she just got done telling her, and she agreed that they wouldn't be doing this, and yet Burnham just goes against that and fights.
Not very trustworthy, is it?
And then later she makes it sound as if it was Maul's fault. I'm like, what? The second thing that just totally drove me completely up a wall was when they were in the ship or whatever, and one of the crew, of course we don't know the crew because we never did know them, but anyway, one of them says there's 40 Breen fighters coming out to waste our butt, and I'm going like, 40? I said, is a little overkill maybe? 10 would have been too many, but 10 would make sense, and it's not 20, and it's not 30. It's 40 freaking fighters heading to Discovery. Now, these are probably advanced fighters because they come out of an advanced dreadnought, okay, which means these things are fast and maneuverable. And yet they just go like, there's 40 of them. And I'm going like, nah. If there was 40, you would surely be toast. There's just no two ways about it. Not to mention that your ship's already battered up. So I'm going like, that's totally unbelievable. Sorry. I can't go with that one. Not at all. And then it becomes worse, but we're not at that point yet.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's not all bad. It's there's good as well, but
it doesn't even look right. You see a pack of them like they look like a giant swarm of bees coming after them.
We don't know how advanced they are or how big or small they are. You don't get proper kind of look on them, probably because the CGI budget
maybe not, but you don't. But that. It's just like it's like anything else. If you have an advanced dreadnought ship, what are you going to put out? Lousy fighters? There's no way. You have a dreadnought that's already way too big, but okay, and it's really advanced, and you can't just send out pea shooters. You got to have to send out the F-16s or the F-35s or whatever. The good stuff.
The good stuff.
And so don't worry about sending out 10. Just send 40 out. Okay, and I don't even have a problem. I don't have a problem with the fact that the Breen might have wanted to overkill by sending the 40 out. But if you're gonna say that the Breen sent 40 out, then your ship is done. You are done. Don't even try to do anything. You're done.
To add more evidence to what Gray said, But what kind of... I had a bee in my bonnet because, like I said a moment ago, you can go towards the portal. You can fire torpedoes and phasers behind you. That is possible, even with an old starship like that. You could do that at the same time. They could have been out of range, but, ifs and buts and pots and pans. For me, it was a little bit far-fetched. But then Rayner makes a decision to leave the portal for now and focus on the fighters, which I think was a smart move, because the fighters do... Hello, Lord. Hello, buddy. Hope you like Star Trek, because we're talking about Star Trek. Lord's in Twitch chat, by the way, in case you're wondering.
Howdy, Lord.
Yeah, like, I think it was a smart thing to focus on the fighters, because, if you can't go for the portal if you are in bits and pieces, but the fighters do actually start firing on Discovery. And this is why I thought, Gray, maybe they're not super powerful, because while this is happening, yes, Discovery's taking a bit of a beating, but it's sustaining it okay to begin with, at least anyway, from these fighters. I just kind of a bit disappointing that... Well, we'll discuss what happens in a little bit, because it's a bit of a cop-out how they take them out. I would actually have liked to have seen some CGI budgets spent on pew-pew rather than just one-off big fancy special effects that we're going to see. Lord doesn't have a clue about Star Trek, but he's in here to support. God bless you, man. God bless you. Legend.
Thank you, sir.
He doesn't have a clue. Fair enough. But yeah, so a little bit far-fetched, and like Gray has a point. 40 fighters is really you don't need that many, but so they do have a plan. Of course, at least Discovery does have a plan. They are going to, like I said, Rayner is going to take them on himself, and Book is going to go and get the portal. And you're thinking, all right, okay, this is something for Book to do. Let's go and get his girlfriend and make sure everything's okay. But he's going to go in a souped-up shuttle, and I don't mean like alloys and tinted windows and stuff like that, but that's a different kind of souped up. He's going to go in something that's more radiation proof, because it's near the black holes. And Dr. Culber is coming along as company, Gray. This whole angle throughout the season has just been bloody weird with Culber. And
very much.
Why does he just we know why he invites himself eventually, but it's just a bit bizarre. And Book must have been going like, "What you doing, man? Why? What was that angle all about?"
I think it was totally unnecessary. I mean, I understand the stuff that Culver was going through before, and I thought they pretty much kind of wrapped that up, more or less, pretty much. And then all of a sudden he goes, "I have to go. I don't know why I have to go, but I have to go." And I go, "Well, it's down there to the right." No, I'm kidding. So, and I'm like, "Why do you have to go all of a sudden?" You're just sitting there going like, "I have to go. I don't know why, but I have to go." And I'm like, "Oh boy, it just didn't make any sense."
Yeah, and Culber's poor partner Stamets is just like, why? No, you haven't given me a bloody reason, you nutter. You're just leaving. You could be dead again.
Again, yes.
There's only so many times you get the come back to life, get out of jail free card in Star Trek.
Yep.
It's usually just the once. So yeah, they do have a solid-ish plan, but Culber decides to come along and kind of spoil the party. Burnham, meanwhile, back inside the portal, finds a clue within the endless maze of portals, and this is what kind of knocked her off before the portal. She wasn't quite prepared for it. It seems to be a kind of, I don't know how to describe it, Gray, like a fake, like a force field type thing to almost like a perception type filter, whereas she's able to see past it, able to get past this filter or shield or whatever the hell it is, to see like a big massive field of flowers. And I'm thinking, great, she's been transported to the Netherlands. Poppy fields and shit everywhere, man. Just
Actually, you know what I thought of right away was The Wizard of Oz.
That's even better. Yeah.
It was almost exactly the same. You had the street, the Rainbow Road or whatever in front.
Yeah.
All these freaking flowers and poppy fields everywhere.
Did you expect her and Maul together to hold arms and just kind of do the little song and dance down the street? Yeah. The yell, bro.
And you see the wizard pop up or something. It's just like, okay. That's not a nitpick. It was just funny when I saw it. It looked gorgeous, but I'm sitting there going like, holy crap, they're in Oz. And I was like, What is it? But
Lord,
it was cool.
Lord in the comments just saying the only thing he knows is Patrick Stewart and himself are from the same place. There you go. Small world.
What the Earth?
I'm guessing. I can't remember where he's from in England, Lord. You'll be able to tell me. I can't remember, mate.
Yeah, I don't remember either off the top of my head.
But anyhow, so they do, Burnham and Maul do get through to this Wizard of Oz type setting where like flowers everywhere and a big central kind of column thing in the middle, a control panel type thing, which is obviously key to what happens later on. Meanwhile, our kind of plot C type thing is happening. We've got Saru, who's both of our favourite characters, coming to the rescue in his shuttle with the pathway drive in it because he wants an audience with Primarch Tahal. What's going on with that pathway drive, Gray? This had been hyped up a little bit before about how superior it was supposed to be, right? And how it was supposed to be a lot quicker, and they're not relying on the lithium crystals and all that crap. But they'd say so very little about it. I don't know. Is it warp? I think it is, but it's like a faster version. But they seem to be keeping pace with the Breen. Do you have a clue what it is? It's just a bit piss poor that they don't tell us anything.
I saw them come in over the Breen ships, and they look like they're, a little faster, or whatever. But it didn't look anything different than anything else. I'm sitting there thinking like, well, don't you want to add like some kind of an effect that makes the Pathfinder drive look a little different, or something? And they don't do anything. It was pretty much boring. It was just kind of like, okay, so what?
They could have explained a little bit about what it is. It's kind of a massive deal to talk about new propulsion technologies in Star Trek, but or have them in Star Trek, but no, not to talk about them is a really piss poor in my opinion. And I think I had a rant, was it last week or the week before, Gray, when I talked about all these propulsion drives they've got in Discovery,
Warp and transwarp and Pathfinder and
quantum slipstream or whatever the hell it's called.
Slipstream, and then the protostar proto drive thing.
And they don't explain how most of these ones work, or you don't never see them. Like, what's the bloody point? Apparently, there we go. Lord saying he's from Huddersfield Town. That's it. It rings a bell. Now I've heard Patrick Stewart talk about that on the TV. Huddersfield Town. They have a football team as well, I believe. Anywho, right. So
I only have one thing to say to Lord. Engaged.
You do? Okay, you heard that.
That was it.
For people listening
back,
back,
bad Patrick Stewart imitation.
For the people listening back to the podcast version, one of our pals, our colleagues from the Discord is on the old Twitch chat. We're not just ranting and raving for the sake of it. We are generally talking to someone. Honestly, I'll take a screenshot to prove it. So yeah, this pathway drive thing is a bit of an enigma. We don't really know what it is, and I don't think we ever will. Maul and Burnham find a way, well, what they think is a way to get the tech going, only for, of course this is going to happen, revenge mission. I don't even know what Burnham was doing. She was looking at the pretty flowers or something, because Maul just comes along with the butt of the phaser and just goes doink right in the head. And then the way Burnham falls like an absolute champ, she must know that there's like a blue mattress or something underneath to take her fall. She just doink, perfectly falls down. And of course, no worries, Lord, you're always welcome, mate. Never apologise. If you're really winding me up, I just ignore you. So yeah, what does Maul do now? We're not really surprised by this. She goes up to try and use this all by herself, and it kind of backfires kind of pretty big time on her. You mentioned here, Gray, that after an emotional talk between them, Maul trusts Burnham, not Starfleet, which is it not even a bigger kick in the cojones then that she goes back on her?
The thing that drove me nuts is when she knocked her out, prior to that, they had a very emotional talk, and they were like both practically in tears, and they were saying like, you don't have to worry about trusting Starfleet. Just trust me, not Starfleet. It's me. I give you my word. So the whole thing was a great scene, very emotional. And then what happens? She just hits her in the head, knocks her out. Yeah, I didn't fall for it.
She was kind of allowed to. I mean, it's like she get attacked for pretty much no reason not that long before. So they're even now. It's 1-1. I would have thought.
Yeah, I mean, it's a nitpick maybe, but it just, why bother having that whole emotional scene then? I mean,
Trust issues, man.
It was unnecessary then. It kind of negates what happened. But anyway.
It does. It does a little bit actually. Just maybe a nitpick, nothing more.
Did you like the effect though when Maul goes and puts her hands on the thing? All of a sudden, the electric things start going up her arm, and she's like, ah.
Yeah. I did actually. That's what I was kind of going to discuss next. That Maul is trying to take this for herself, which I kind of get, and she thinks it's a case of literally putting all. So this device in the middle is really simple, like too simple for what it's protecting and who made it and whatnot. And it just looks like a column with a bloody Philips Hue light bulb underneath it and a bunch of triangles on the top that a kid's got to try and, like a little 5-year-old's got to put these all together. And you get the secrets of the universe, But she puts these triangles and fits them all in perfectly. So it's a bigger triangle. And I'm thinking that's too simple within the simplicity of all this. And it backfires when she gets the old... But I think it was some kind of thing that locks her in place, because if that had been electric current, she'd be 100% dead by the time Burnham gets to her. So it locks her in her place. But meanwhile, back on Discovery, they see the effects of Maul making an arse of this, because when she puts her hands in there at the sides of like this bloody Wizard of Oz poppy field type thing, like bolts of energy just start shooting up into the air, and they see that on the other side. Discovery sees the effect of this. It turns out the black holes are the power source for this device, which makes 100% sense. Like, so much energy is required for these things, and it's getting a bit batshit crazy at this stage. I was just reading your comment after, Greg, you've already mentioned your rant about the 40 fighters.
Yeah, but I get deeper into the next part of it. Do you want me to say it now, or should I wait?
Well, yeah. So, for a few seconds at least, anyway. Yeah, we do have Discovery taking out all of our targets at once. This is part of Gray's rant. I know what he's talking about. So instead of at least firing back in some of them and letting us see some pew-pew action, because Discovery has a chance against a number of these fighters due to its sheer firepower compared to a fighter. We don't see that. They're trying to take them all out in one go, which is a bit far-fetched. They do see pockets of like gas in front of them, which initially, they mentioned this a short while ago, and they avoid them to begin with, and then they come up with the plan, like, let's use them. How many times have we seen this in Star Trek before?
Too many.
We'll go past it, and then we'll literally fire back the way, and as soon as all these fighters go in there, 40, not just 10 or 20, but 40, the torpedoes go in, and it goes up in flames. I do note here, I love the torpedo noise of Discovery. It just sounds nice. But yeah, that is your... Do you want to expand in your rant, Gray?
So, first of all, as soon as they started talking about the nebula, I just fall back and I just go, no. Because they've done it so often, and, please come up with some other way to do something. I mean, it just got me crazy. But whatever, I figured, okay, that got me nuts, but let's just go with it. And then when they talked about trapping off 40 in there and then igniting the cloud and blowing them up, I'm sitting there going like, well, that's been done before too. But here's the part where I really thought was crazy. You have 40 fighters that are, again, these are fighters. They're very fast and they're very nimble. And you mean to tell me that all 40 just happened to be in there while the Discovery got out of it and they could blow up every single one of them? I don't think so. It's just way too unbelievable. There should have been like 5, 6, 7, 8, 10
that got out that the Discovery could have picked off itself.
Correct, exactly. And then we would have had a great scene where they were sitting there like getting battered and they have to knock out these last 4 or 5 fighters. But instead they just take the easy way out and they just go, it's amazing. All 40 are done. And they're like, oh boy. I'm just like, no.
Not even one
got me
get
so
through. Not
crazy.
even one
Not
escape.
even one. I mean, it would have been bad enough if it was just one, but at least I would have kind of accepted it, you know. But it should have been like 3, 4, 5, something that was reasonable that Discovery could take on, as opposed to 40.
Yeah.
But no, they all just get blown up. What a perfect way to do it. We know exactly what we're doing. We're battered to hell, but we're gonna make it out of that nebula and catch all 40 of them in there. Because why? Because the Breen are stupid.
They
and
must
we know
be.
the Breen aren't that stupid.
Yeah,
So
it is a bit too much. I guess it was
Yeah.
simplicity for storytelling, which is lazy if that's the case. And
lazy as hell.
it's saving money on the CGI budget. But I mean, come on, guys, this is your finale. This is not only your season finale, but this is your series finale.
Series finale, yeah.
Like, come on, you pull out you got extra money to film extra stuff. Put a bit more of it into CGI and give us something cool to look at.
They were trying to save the money so they could spend it on Starfleet Academy.
Oh yeah. Well, that's for next week's episode, I think. To be fair,
Yeah.
So yeah, no, maybe a worthy rant. To be fair, Gray. Now this is the bit of Culber's journey, Dr. Culber. That yes, it's kind of cool, I guess, because it makes sense. Book is in the shuttle along with Culber, and he's going to basically track to the portal to stop it falling into the event horizon of the black hole, because all kinds of shit can happen. If you watch Interstellar, you could end up going back in time on yourself and sending messages to your kid using a watch. If you've seen Interstellar, that makes sense. See that quote. But we don't want the portal to go in there, so Book does try to lock onto it, but he can't. He can't lock onto it, all the interference and whatnot. And then Culber just randomly pulls the frequency out his arse, and he gives him the exact frequency to fire
Literally,
in. Almost literally, yep. And
Hold
lock
on a
onto it.
second. Here you go.
So now this is the bit I kind of get, because I think, and I don't know if they say as much, I don't think they do, the Trill consciousness that he has in him a number of episodes prior, that person must have had that knowledge, is the common logical sense I get from this, Gray. That yes, this is the frequency you need. This scientist probably knew about this or had to do this first time around. Does that make sense, Gray? I mean, I know it's weak, but as you say here,
even if you wanted to remotely say that, and which really I don't get, because the Trill's gone. That's gone. So you're only going to have fleeting things, maybe, that you might remember, and even that's going to disappear. But for a moment, let's just say that maybe he did remember it. You mean to tell me that the whole time he hasn't had any kind of, precognition to what's going on, but now he does? And then when he asked him, how did you know that? Oh, I just knew it. This is his answer for everything. I just know I have to go. I just knew it.
Some things come to you though, Gray. Some things do come to you out of the blue from time to time. As human beings, we can attest to that, no?
But not something that has to be like precise like that. 5.73 to the 10th power. That'll do it. Like, how did you get that? I don't know. Like, come on.
I pulled it out my backside. That's how I got it.
Exactly. So I'm sitting there like, geez, and like I said, you must have been stretching to give Culber something to do for this episode, because that's just like,
yeah, it's kind of difficult to give the Doctor something to do usually, but other series have pulled it off just fine. They generally have. Other series have pulled it off really well. So
if you think about it in another
here.
term, could you see McCoy doing that? I don't think so.
He just he would just
and
rant
yeah,
and
McCoy
rave.
had plenty to do, and he did, and he was fabulous in the series. Okay, so you mean to tell me that they couldn't think of something that this Doctor could do, like save somebody's life or something? I mean,
he doesn't save many lives in this. Actually, he doesn't do very much. He doesn't do much doctoring, does he? It's
you make a great point. You're exactly right, because if you think about it, over the time that we've seen him, there was a couple times here and there, yes, but not much. He seemed to do other things.
Yeah, he gets his minions to do that for him, really, to be fair. But yeah, it is a bit far-fetched, but, I do like that he knew this knowledge most likely through... If he just mentioned after, oh yeah, that must have been the Trill consciousness or something, it would have made a bit more sense, but he didn't. So, now, back over like little C plot where Saru is trying to get his audience with... the Primarch Tal, and he's not really getting anywhere. And we have another rant here about Pathway Drive, but we touched on that before because we couldn't hold ourselves back. It was a bit of a... Yeah. I really love propulsion in Star Trek. We even done a special on it, and I'm a bit fed up about that whole thing. But anyway, we won't cover old ground already. Now, the cool thing here is Saru is a hell of a master negotiator because he doesn't really get what he wants initially. So he threatens Sahal with basically destroying her bases along one of the trade routes that they have that she didn't think he knew about, but he did. And then he does this. I mean, we love him anyway. We do this whole. He does this whole look into my eyes thing. Like, does that work through a transmission? I don't think it's as believable as a transmission as
graphic. So
True. It's at least.
I think it was more the point that he was able to sell everything with the whole body language kind of thing.
Yeah, it's like look into my eyes.
Right, and she also knew Tahal that what he was saying made some sense, and that if he was right, that could really screw her chances of becoming the ruler. So, and I thought that whole scene was absolutely great. It was the best scene in the whole freaking episode because, well, Doug Jones is great, number one. And number two, he knew what to do with the writing, and he just went at it and he's just like, "Whoa!" I'm sitting there going like, "Okay."
Well, like, do you remember
do you
remember a comment from him when he said, "Listen, my species are predators." Technically, that's true if you remember older Discovery, but
it used to be right.
It used to be. His species were subjugated for such a long time until they remembered and realised who they were. So between that and look into my eyes, she does buy it, and she calls him insane. Like, he's got a little bit nuts to be a negotiator. I get that.
She actually called him insane a couple of times.
So yeah. I liked it. I was a fan of that. He's basically threatening to like just go and destroy all the bases. I don't think he would have done that, but it's a bluff nevertheless. The day is kind of saved when Burnham actually does wake up and pushes kind of Maul out of the way or getting zapped or whatever the hell's happened to her. Should have left her there, but she's a better person than that. She solves the puzzle, and then, but the thing is, yes, the whole thing with the puzzle is a bit stupid, great, I know, but I guess if you take away the stupidity for a moment, she remembers about the space in between comment from before, and she literally inverts the triangles so that there is a triangle, like the triangles are making a triangle, so there's a big blank space in the middle of a triangle, which seems to do the trick, because next thing you know it, someone's turned out all the lights and she's in, I don't know, Valhalla or somewhere, man. It looked pretty cool anyway. She's in a nighttime version of the same place she was already in because budgets, they can't really afford to do another set. So what they do, they just turn the lights out.
There was a point, well, never mind, because I'm going to spoil something, but I'll say it later.
Are you? You don't want to jump ahead. That's
I know.
We certainly don't want to do that. So yeah, this is maybe slightly far-fetched, but I'm right in saying, Gray, you weren't a massive fan of that puzzle that she had to solve either. I think you mentioned here it was a bit too simple for your liking.
It was a bit simple, but I don't think there was a problem it being somewhat simple, but I thought it was like maybe a little too simple. I mean, like you were saying, I thought it was funny when you said there's a bulb underneath and you shine the light through.
That's what it looked like, man. It looked like something about a quiz show or a game quiz show.
I didn't even think about it until you said it. I'm like, oh my god, that's terrible.
and then what does she see when she goes to the nighttime version of these fields? She does see a progenitor who walks up to her, and she was a bit surprised by that. And Gray's still got to have his little nitpick there, his little moan about the progenitors looking too much like changelings.
She did.
Well, changelings look like progenitors. That's the correct way of saying it.
That isn't how it works, though, because
yes, it is. Progenitors were way before changelings.
It would have been better, even though I rather see an alien-looking person, but it would have been better if she just basically came to her as a human, even though she really wasn't human. It was just taking that vision so that they could, talk to each other.
Why go as a human when she's not human?
Well, but my point is that she is going to appear to anybody, however they want her to appear. I guess, sort of. She could. I mean,
well, maybe she could, but that defeats the purpose of.
Remember, she wasn't real. She was not technically. She was not real.
No, she wasn't.
She wasn't a real progenitor. She was the best copy of one.
Like Portal from the Star Trek game we're playing, kind of like that. Uses a consciousness, uses a database.
The only thing that was kind of funny when we were talking about the simple triangle thing. She said at one point to Burnham, because Burnham said something about being simple, and she says sometimes the simple things are, whatever she said, were wonderful or something like that. She did say that, so I was like, oh, okay. So she explained away the puzzle. But going on your theory, it would have been like I would have had her say like I changed the bulb underneath, and now we're good.
Oh, it's the Red Dwarf joke, isn't it? Like,
yeah, exactly.
Go to Red Alert. Are you sure, sir? That means changing the bulb. I swear to God, that's one of the funniest things ever in Red Dwarf. Yeah. Genius. No, it was. Listen, for her to get this far, Burnham, right? Anyone that made it that far was going to have been worthy and intelligent, and I don't think, for me anyway, Gray, showing up as anything other than what you are is the wisest thing. You want to see a progenitor, you want to see who's involved there, because, man, that's progenitors that come up with all this. So,
well, then nitpick or not, they shouldn't have had to look like a changeling. They should have been something else.
No,
but that's okay.
Changelings look like what came first? Progenitors.
Oh, okay.
Progenitors came first, and then changelings way after. So the changelings look like progenitors. But yeah, we find out there's more to who came first than meets the eye after, which is pretty cool, actually. Now, she's getting the whole spiel from Burnham's getting the whole spiel from the progenitor, what's going on, what's happening, how this technology works, and all that. And it turns out the tech can create life, Gray, but not the memories associated with it. So no Star Trek zombies, man. Gutted. Absolutely gutted, man. I was hoping that as a special, like, what if, or a limited run series, or a movie next year, Star Trek movie, Star Trek Zombies.
Star Trek Zombies would have been better than Academy, so. Hey.
Well, yes, I agree with you in that one there. So this is explained later on tomorrow, I think, by Burnham. You know, like, we can't bring him back. We could bring him back, but he wouldn't have any memories of who you are and whatnot, which kind of makes sense. It's like a blank slate. You start again. I get that. Memories are not something that you can just create out of thin air. And, you know, like, there's always a catch, but I guess we are okay with the explanation, as we both noted down here. I thought, though, Gray, that maybe it was naive of me that the technology could maybe bring back Quajon, Book's home planet, because that there's not memories involved with a planet. You're just bringing back organic matter and the life forms and stuff on it. Maybe not the people. I thought it could be capable of something like that, but unfortunately not. We don't get any mention of the planet coming back, which kind of sucks.
Although, and we won't say it, let's wait to the end.
Let's wait to the end, indeed. So at this stage here, it's kind of explained to Burnham, who's in a bit of a rush, understandably, that time works differently in there. She could essentially stay in there for ages and learn the ways of this tech, because she's to be the steward of this tech. She's earned that right. And the progenitor explains that time is slower here, so you could essentially stay in here and learn what you need to learn and then leave. But she is concerned about her friends and whatnot, and she's kind of conflicted about what she really should do or could do here, Gray. And then, as we're finding out, this is the holy shit moment. We find out, and you see the look in Burnham's face as well when she's told this. The progenitors did not build a place within the portal. The progenitors found it there already, and I'm like, a what?
Yeah.
Did you see? I didn't see that coming, Gray. Did you?
No, I didn't see that coming at all. So I like that. That was one of the. Again, there wasn't a lot of them, but that was another good scene. I like the way they wrote the scene and how they did it.
Yeah.
And so essentially, it was some other race that built it, or races, or who knows, and you know.
It's kind of disappointing. It's cool, but it's disappointing, because then we'll just keep going back and back and back. Can we not just like go until we get to like God or Jesus or something? Like,
well, I think I think the explanation that she kind of gave made sense. It was kind of more like, this has been going on for millennia after millennia, where there was a creator, and the creator did whatever, and there was a creator of that creator, and it just goes back farther and farther and farther.
Yeah,
and onto itself, which which there's theories about that even today. So so it's okay. It was cool.
No, it was smart. None of us seen it coming. So huge respect for the decent, the great bit of writing there in that respect. And let's say the look in Burnham's face, she was bamboozled as well.
As we were.
The progenitor basically explains that we kind of found it there, and they do have, it was them that created the tech to seed life for the galaxy, the universe, as far as they knew it. But the place with the portals and whatnot, that was something that they found already. So eons before, people are going from planet to planet or area to area in these portal things that some random alien species, even before the progenitors came about with. And she just says it so casually and deadpan, like, we found it here, and it was ours. We claimed it.
We just stumbled upon it while we were out, for a walk.
Out for a walk in the middle of space. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Right now, okay. So this is both batshit crazy and phenomenal at the same time. And when we get to it, Gray, I'll certainly want your opinion on it. Discovery has to get rid of the Dreadnought, and not only the Dreadnought, but T'Hal's scout ship, which was following Saru along to the rendezvous. Of course, T'Hal actually, all our fleet disengaged before, but one of the ships cloaked and followed them, and they knew that was there. So they had two ships there that couldn't get. They wanted to get rid of them. They couldn't get involved with this because Discovery can't help if it's having to deal with these ships. And if the Breen learn or get hold of this, Gray, or learn what's involved, it's the shit hits the fan. So they have to get rid of them. How they're going to get rid of them? They're going to disengage the safeties and jump the two ships along with them, right? And I'm just like, what? I mean, we're already not a massive fan of the Spore Drive, and now they've just... what I think's happened, Gray, is they've used up all the reserves of mushrooms and get really, really high just before it to come up with an idea.
They only thought they jumped. They really didn't.
No, they're really dead as we know it. They're in
but there was an explanation. What's his face? Stamets made an explanation.
It kind of made sense, yeah. It's still batshit crazy, though.
And he said that they weren't going to jump. Discovery wasn't going to jump. They were going to aim the power. This is an easy way of saying it. Aim the power of the spores directly at the two ships and jump them instead of them jumping, which I thought was pretty cool because I'm going like, oh, that's neat. It's something different anyway. So I enjoyed that. And then when they said the only way they could do it was to be on either side, like they would like a pole on batteries. You have your negative and positive. And so when they said and then when they said they had to separate, I'm going like, oh, okay, now we have a reason why they separated.
Yeah,
so that's okay.
I thought they were going to take these ships with them, but as No Gray points out, it was that they're going to kind of invert it a little bit. They're going to stay where they are. They separate now. That this is it while the progenitors talking to Burnham, and it's kind of a shame because it takes away a bit of the vibe I thought of the cool special effects, because we're listening to progenitor and Burnham talk, and we're only hearing a bit of the audio from the special effects. So I don't know if it's just me, Gray. It seemed to like take away a bit of the coolness of that special effect because they weren't focusing everything on the special effect. But yeah, Discovery separates, which no one bloody knew. Like, what? I was thinking actually it was... I would thought when they were talking about separating, it was going to be that little small shitty bit in the middle of the saucer, which was just going to come out and be like a flying saucer, Gray, like a flying saucer. And just...
Actually, that would have been kind of cool.
I thought that was the case. But, I mean, if that's the case, right, that is the earliest example of a starship that can separate like that. I mean, they said technically the Enterprise could do that. Yeah, but this is prior to the Enterprise, or is it no? It's after the Enterprise. Is it prior?
Well, first of all, when the Enterprise in TOS, the original series, the Enterprise was technically created to have a saucer separate.
They couldn't afford it, though.
The right. Exactly right. The reason they couldn't do it is back then they were using big models. I mean, big models that they built, and they had no way they wanted to make the saucer separate because they're going like, this ain't gonna work.
We'll lose the bolts and screws and never be able to put it back together again. Yeah. So it technically could do it, but Gray's just hit the nail on the head. There's good reasons why they couldn't do it. So to see Discovery being able to do that, an even older ship, kind of is fascinating to me. And the Discovery doesn't have much of a neck like the other ships in Starfleet do.
There's like no neck.
It's like a skinny neck, so it literally separates where the skinny neck
pancake.
is. And you've got the two rings of the saucer section at the top, and then the secondary hull there. Now, this is before we get to actually the jump, we've got, for me, one of the best scenes or moments along with Saru. Funnily enough, the two best speeches in this whole series or in this whole episode are from our two favourite characters, Gray and I's favourite characters, Raynor and Saru. And he's asked, like, where are we, sir, where are we going to jump them to? And he has a think about it for a moment. He looks a bit constipated. He's not really sure. And he's like, the galactic barrier. And he's pretty adamant on that. I was like, oh, very cool. That's far out. He says, yeah, it should just take them a couple of decades to get back from, which is more than they gave my family. And I was like, whoa, brilliant. Yeah. I love that, Gray, man. Good. What a good scene. And he is the better man for that, no?
Yeah, definitely.
Respect to the guy. He's my favourite character this season, hands down. So respect where credit's due. Is it a nitpick, Gray, be honest, to say that while this whole thing's happening and the ship is separated and getting ready to do its thing, the dreadnought's just kind of sitting there and the Breen soldiers on the bridge are just going, oh, that's nice, what are they doing? Oh, maybe we should fire. Maybe we should return. Yeah. Maybe we should blow them up before they do it. They didn't fire once.
Yeah, I was the same way. I'm sitting there expecting it to happen. It doesn't. I expect it'll happen any second, but it doesn't. So I'm kind of like, huh?
Wouldn't it have been cooler, Gray, if they'd fired a bit, but Discovery is able to take some number of shots before it gets below and above the ship, maybe about out of range before it pulls off where it pulls off. But it didn't fire once, the Dreadnought. It's just a bit too much, you know. But this whole time, both ships have to be in proximity, the Dreadnought and Tahal's scout ship. And this is where Saru's playing the cat and mouse game, is literally decloaks and literally just is a better, faster, and nimble shuttle, the Starfleet one. And it's just taking it on, in and out and around the Dreadnought, rings and just taking it for a good ride, this Tahal scout ship. And they have to time this absolutely perfectly. So they do the whole... And this it looks cool, Gray, but it also looks a bit wacky. If you focus in on the secondary hull at the bottom and the saucer section at the top, they both spin round on the spot and then do the whole concentrating the spore energy into the middle. And I'm just thinking, I'm dizzy watching this thing, man. It just looks... Because see, when the Discovery normally does its jump thing, it rotates on its axis and then jumps. And people always used to say at the start, why does it rotate? It shouldn't need to do that based on what we know about the spore drive. It should just jump from where it is, a bit like an FTL drive. But it does this whole...
because they needed to add something snazzy, which really is stupid. Doesn't look snazzy at all. It never has.
It does look a bit crazy, but especially when you see this, it's kind of a little bit bonkers. But, you know, they're able to kind of pull it off, which is kind of cool. And Burnham's saying to the progenitor that no one person should control this tech. And of course she does. She's the better person. Completely agree with Michael on that one. And then, like say, both the ships are jumped away. They've saved the day, so it seems. While this is happening, Burnham actually wants to, as I said before, help her friends. So she actually stops the tech. She's told you can stop the tech in its path and you'll be okay. And she's allowed the option, Gray, of coming back later to speak to the progenitors if she doesn't want to get rid of the tech. I mean, that's like the ultimate get out of jail free card. Listen, you can go and save your pals. I'll just chill here and then you come back whenever you want and we can pick up where we left. I mean, what else
Yeah.
what else do you want? What's it you mentioned here? Yeah, Gray hits the nail on the head. The progenitor has complete faith in Burnham and trust. And why is that, Gray? Because she's the one to make it through and
Right. She
pass
was
all
the one
these
to
puzzles.
make it all the way, and she deserves to know what to do.
Yeah.
And the progenitor had the faith that whatever she decided to do was going to be the right thing.
Yeah. One other person made it through before, though. If you remember, this was one of the scientists that actually pulled it off last time. Because what you see is maybe there was another. You see a statue at the side, or a kind of memorial.
There was a funeral pyre with a bunch of rocks.
Yeah, that was one of the other scientists that. I think that must have been the scientist version of Maul that tried to like do the wrong triangle and get zapped and died. So somebody else made it through before, but the conversation that person, that scientist and the progenitor had was really cool, because the scientist said, "Listen, no one's ready for this at the moment. Put it back in ice, and then hopefully what we'll do is, because that portal thing must have been there way back in the day, Gray, without any clues. In fact, it was.
Right. Yeah.
So now the difference is they make clues and they spread them out throughout not only the galaxy, but also in the mirror universe as well, technically, which is batshit crazy to actually do that. So yeah, at this stage here, I'm a bit overwhelmed. I must admit, there's so many kind of batshit moment scenes in this that I'm a little bit, what? Slow down, please. Take a chill pill for a moment. So yeah, no, Burnham does stop the tech. She makes it out in one piece and just about makes it in one piece because the shuttle that Book and Culber are on is holding on for dear life. It's like very little energy left before the shields just implode and they get incinerated, more or less. She makes it out in one piece, Burnham. She meets up with Saru. I love the little embrace in this scene here, and I think you did as well, Gray. The two of them like have a big hug, which is really sweet. And then she kind of says, really coy, like, I heard that Action Saru may have made an appearance today. And then just, honestly, Saru just so deadpan is like, he may have, yes. Very smug mode.
I can do that sometimes.
Anytime those two have a great scene together, I mean, whenever they have a scene together, it is great by default, isn't it? Because you'll get two great actors playing off each other great. And, we don't always maybe like Burnham a lot of some of the time, but those two do so well together, don't they?
Yeah.
It's I'm a big fan, so any more no more chances now, but any more chances, any more scenes of anything we can get with these two in the future, please do. Now, I need your opinion on this, Gray. This is I maybe seen this one coming. She's going to have a conversation, Burnham, with Admiral Vance and the president about what to do with the tech. But the problem is there isn't any discussion that we see. She says she talks about having this conversation, and then the next thing she's made up her mind. That was a little bit of a nitpick for me. She's going to destroy the tech because no one should have access to this technology. She does say that everything is spread out throughout the galaxy and the universe already. There's a lot of diversity already, so we don't need this. We really don't need this. But what was your opinion on that, Gray? Did you think it was the right thing to do? Did you see it coming? Was it obvious?
Yeah, I kind of saw it coming. I did, especially when she wasn't rushing to get back there. And she kept them, and when she did finally decide, she said she already made up her mind. It didn't matter whether she was just going to talk to Admiral and the president because it was the right thing to do, but they weren't going to change her mind on it. So it's kind of a foregone conclusion.
Well, it's not. How's it up to her? Surely it's up to it's up to her superiors. It's up to the president. It's up to
but not
in
this situation, because the progenitor said you're the one that's going to make the decision.
You'll be the steward of this going forward.
Right, and she made the decision, and it was kind of like, I'll tell the Admiral and whatever, but she's already made up her mind. So
The reason, for those that don't watch all our episodes, the reason we call him Dadmiral is because he's like the cool dad of Starfleet.
Yeah, he looks like
and he's
everybody's dead.
So he's a Dadmiral and he's pretty cool. So literally now that they've decided the technology is going to be destroyed, you see Discovery literally tractoring it and throwing it into the black hole, which is a bit surreal actually to see this happening. And then we get a little heart-to-heart between Book and Maul. I think it's Maul's just like, oh, come on, I don't need you to, say I told you so. Book's kind of being the better man and just be like, listen, once you get out of Starfleet jail, it's really easy to get out of jail when you almost kill everything in the bloody galaxy. You just need to do some community service in Starfleet and then your sentence is removed, man. They get away with so much in the future when it comes to criminals, don't they? Yeah, it's a nitpick enough.
Well, as soon as you started hearing stuff about the Kovich wanting to talk to Maul, you already knew at that point. He's gonna put her to work for whatever Section 31 or God knows.
Yeah, you thought that perhaps maybe, and who knows? Soon as the doctors get plans for she's got to be important, and leading on nicely, Gray. Kovich is probably my third favourite character in this season or series so far. Decides first of all that he's going to let Burnham keep that little infinity thingy, that little
communicator thingy,
special communicator that gets her into the White Room. It's no longer a White Room, but it's now Kovich's office. He said he's lived many lifetimes. We kind of suspected as much. We see his mementos around the room, which include a bottle of Chateau Picard wine, or is it champagne?
Right.
Let's just say it's wine. Jordi LaForge's visor, random, and Cisco's baseball. I mean, Cisco is a god at the moment. He's going to be a little pissed that somebody took his bloody baseball. He could come back for that. He should have. That would have been. How cool would it have been if he just went in there and went, yoink, I'm taking my baseball back. What is great?
He comes there with a bat himself, ready to
What does Gray mention here? What does he actually pay for these, man? You don't want to see the eBay costs, the Starfleet eBay costs he paid for them, man. Oofed.
Millions of dollars to get all these artifacts.
Gold pressed latinum. Don't forget that's what it is. Even latinum's still accepted in that modern day. Now, one of the things that this season did get right, or this episode did right, that they paid off Kovich eventually. Thank God. That would have done my head in, and I was getting the vibe that they were going to do that. Burnham says, Kovich is just a code name, isn't it? I want to know who you are. And he's talking about Red Directive. It's a Red Directive on its own, but they've got this kind of trust thing going, even though Kovich is saying you're a bit of a pain in my side. He does say that at one point, but I like you, hence why you can keep the little infinity transponder thing. It turns out he is Agent Daniels from Star Trek Enterprise, and he says he's been on different ships in different lifetimes, and Enterprise was one of them. He doesn't say which Enterprise, but it's the NX. We know that. Great. Did you, first of all, what your opinions were on that, if it was cool or not, and also as well, you only watched some of Enterprise. Do you know this character or this story?
I mean, I know of the character. I didn't actually watch the episodes, but I knew enough of it from seeing clips and everybody talking about it, writing about it, and blah, blah, blah. Okay. So I thought that was a pretty interesting little twist. That was kind of cool.
Okay.
I was trying to think of who else he would have popped up as. That would have been one. I almost thought for a short time, that he would have been the character from TOS. I think it was the first episode that Kirk was in, where Gary something, I forget, where he became a god.
Oh, yeah.
Because of the energy thing that they hit at the end of the galactic barrier or whatever. Anyway, so I'm sitting there thinking like, ooh, that'd be cool if he, because he disappeared. Basically, he was gone or he died, and then the girl, whatever, So I'm thinking like, wow, maybe he would come back, and that would have been kind of really cool. And they kind of did that, but they picked a different character.
Yeah.
And even for a second too, as things are swirling in my head, I'm sitting there going like, ooh, maybe he's a Q. or something, or he's part of the Q continuum of.
Oh, that would have been as
1,000 years
cool though, would it? Because
in the future.
we've seen that before.
Yeah, I know, but I'm just sitting there trying to think of who else it could be, and then of course then there's 2 or 3 other godlike races that we've seen. So it could have been any of them, or anything like that. And then when he said the Agent Daniels, I was going, okay, well, I guess that makes sense. But
he says he's lived many lifetimes. Last I checked, Daniels was still human, but he was part of, I can't remember the agency. They were like a time traveling type police,
Yeah.
They were one of the first examples we saw of this time traveling kind of police. Well, actually, that came after the time traveling in other series. I'm trying to think. Before him, what else had a time traveling agent? Voyager had the time traveling police in it, and Voyager took place before Enterprise. So interesting. So yeah, he's still human. So how he's lived many lifetimes is a little bit confusing, actually, unless he's just spent a handful of years in one location and moved on. So yeah,
now I want to know what the other lives were.
The other what? Sorry.
I want to learn what his other lives were. I want to know.
Oh yeah. That could be the Adventures of Agent Daniels coming soon to Netflix or something. I don't know.
Still better than Academy.
You're really not a fan. Hasn't even started yet, and he's not a fan. Now for the very sweet wedding of Saru and T'Rina. I don't even know what planet it's on. I wish they told you. It looked beautiful wherever it was.
Since she was the bride, I'm thinking like maybe it'd be Vulcan, but then Vulcan's pretty.
No, Navarre. We can't call it Vulcan anymore.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, it's true.
I don't think it was, because Navarre's a lot more desert planet like than what we saw there. Not to say they don't have any water or beaches, but so yeah, what's that?
Maybe it was Honolulu.
Could have been somewhere
Never
sweet,
know.
somewhere very nice, good weather anyway, whatever it was. I was a fan of everyone's attire. They looked very smart. Starfleet uniforms usually look smart when they're formal. Really nice scene, great I mentioned here. And then Tilly basically, at this stage here, officially signing herself off for Academy Grey. His lack of response just says it all, really. She talks about something about mentoring, and this is the right thing, and I should go off into Starfleet and blah blah blah. And actually, at some point, I don't know where it happens, we do learn that Tilly is the longest serving person in the Academy ever.
20
actually.
years.
So you're going to have to.
20 years.
You're going to have to pop her for a long time, Gray.
I heard that one. I'm sitting there going like, oh, no.
20 seasons of Academy. Yay!
Yeah, right. Yeah. You'll be lucky if it gets past 1.
While they're having these conversations, I do like the little random comments and things that you sometimes miss. Raynor's involved in one of his conversations with Burnham and Tilly. And Tilly's mentioning he's basically crabby, as in he's crabbit. He's a bit of a pain in the backside, and he takes it on the chin and he plays it back a little bit. I was a fan of that. He is a crabbit kind of person, Gray. There's no denying it. As we've seen evident all the way through this season, he's learned to be a better person, but he doesn't want all that warm and fuzziness. He's not a fuzzy guy. No fuzziness. No fuzzy.
I wouldn't be fuzzy with those ears either.
Oh yeah, true, man. Those things are huge.
Those ears look like an animal bit them off. So
Book has arrived, looking very dapper, as Burnham says. He's looking the part. He's even braided his hair, very shiny. And he says he's late, and I like this little touch because of some Talaxian pirates. Yay! Talaxians get a mention. We don't see them, but we hear of them, which is nice. Nice little touch. And then, of course, there's the official makeup between Burnham and Book and blah, blah, blah. I thought Book was going to ask her for her hand in marriage. Did you think that was happening?
I was thinking either he was going to or she was going to, but somebody was going to. And it didn't end up that way.
Disappointing, man. It's underwhelming, though, you know? But they can't go back to the wedding because they get interrupted by Kovic, and he has another mission for him, which is, I think, what we get to the very end of this, possibly another Red Directive type mission. And Book's just coming along. I don't remember him being invited. I don't remember him getting one of these things, but he comes along. Okay, fine, whatever. Now, this is the bit, Gray, that we think they filmed extra scenes for. In fact, I'm pretty convinced that they did. Otherwise, it would have just ended on a nice wedding, which is fine.
Right.
Fast forward into the future, many years, probably it was a few decades, I think, several decades, and we see an old Burnham in a cozy log cabin in the wilderness, along with Book, older Book, and a failed coffee experiment. Book was trying to grow some random like fruit stuff or whatever it was and get it to sit on top of a cup of coffee, and it sinks into the coffee.
It looked like a black honeycomb that some bee made.
Something like that, yeah. Like I don't think it was Earth. I think it was some random alien planet. Again, it would have been cool if they told you where they were. But
well, the only reason I thought from the way he was explaining it was because in this world, people do take honeycombs by bees and they do stick it in their beverages to get to get all the sweet nectar out of it. So that's actually a thing. So when he did it, of course, it was a little different because these are alien bees, I guess, or whatever you want to call it.
Alien bees? Oh no!
So it melted and into her coffee. But I thought that was funny though because they were saying like, "Well, it should taste good, maybe," and
she's like, "Nah."
She drinks and goes, "Nah."
But thank you though.
Yeah, nice thought. But
speaking of which, Burnham is now an admiral. Now, of course, she is. Like you don't save you don't save the galaxy like she does and not become an admiral in the future. And she has a son who is a captain. Of course, he is. And the son is coming along to take her to Starfleet. In one of the shuttles, and it's a personal pickup. He's just literally about to become captain. We don't learn what ship he's going to take charge of. We don't see the ship grade. Disappointing. But I do, talking about attire, I do like the future uniforms as well. They were nice and shiny, especially when Burnham's about to step into the shuttle and she just does the thing, and she goes from normal clothes to like that never happened in Discovery earlier in the season. That's a new thing.
Yeah.
Clothes at that
30-second whatever.
Who done that? Who else done that?
I don't think anybody did, or if it
did,
we didn't notice.
Not in Star Trek.
Well, it's probably easier to do than making a phaser out of nowhere.
Iron Man done that. Robert Downey Jr. in the movies where he pulled his like cords down from his hoodie and then went like that, and then the uniform. It's nanotech. It's nanotech. This uniform now. So I found that pretty cool. Now, I think I'll be honest with you, Gray. At this moment, I am starting to get a bit more emotional because I know you're not a massive fan of Discovery. I probably like it a bit more, although it's not my favourite series by a long shot. I just know it's coming to a proper end, and these are scenes filmed specifically for the very end of it. And I'm a bit sad about the whole thing, but it's a bit emotional. It's a bit heartfelt. The scene between her and her son and her father.
Yeah. Oh, that was all, that was all good.
Yeah. I mean, it's all good. Heartfelt, I would say. Just a nitpick, Gray. Nothing more. You didn't even notice this. The shuttle leaves and goes to warp. It literally barely gets off the ground and then goes to warp. That is a big no-no in Star Trek lore. You don't go to warp. Not only do you not go to warp inside an atmosphere, you're not supposed to do it in your solar system. Maybe they've advanced since then, but going to warp inside the fucking planet when you're maybe only a few hundred meters off the ground, that's a bit ballsy.
I thought when I was looking at it, I was assuming that they just went into impulse because impulse is awfully fast.
You got the stars going past, which is another flaw because there's no stars inside a fucking planet. So it's just a nitpick. That's what we do. We nitpick.
No, there was one scene you haven't mentioned. And I was waiting to see if you would. There was a scene where when the shuttle was leaving, right? And you're getting a shot of like the
top down, yeah.
And all
the deer.
On the plant. No, that deer was before, but as the ship was flying out, you see these creatures or something swimming in the water and vegetation and all that stuff. And then what do you see just before they go to leave and they go to warp? You remember?
No.
Okay, it was the world tree that was on his home planet.
Oh, because he got that thing at the end from the book in the library?
He had the cutting. And they're actually able to somehow get the tree to grow again, and you see that tree So so that was really cool. When I saw that, I was going like, they got the tree.
And you see the things swimming in the water as well that look like the things somebody's planet of Quajon, but it couldn't be Quajon, obviously.
Exactly. So it was kind of like a mini Quajon again.
Yeah.
Or whatever. So I thought that was really neat how they handled that. That was cute. So I really like that.
I didn't notice Grey, actually. That's well, I remember now that you've mentioned that to me, but yeah, I forgot initially. That's pretty cool, actually. Now, they do arrive at Starfleet. Starfleet's had a bit of an upgrade. Instead of one chandelier, I mean an HQ, because it looks like a feckin' Starfleet HQ looks like a feckin' fancy chandelier, I'm telling you. There's now 3 of them. They've upgraded the 3 main kind of star bases, if you like.
You know why the 3 of them look the same, right?
They replicated the other 2? No.
Because of cost.
Of course, yeah.
What they should have done.
They are star bases, aren't they, effectively? You all right, Greg?
Yeah, but what they should have done, though, is they should have had, like, different ones. Why would you have the same one? If it's a complex, you should have had different buildings, right?
Great, that is a nitpick and a half right there, if that's what you're more
right. But I'm going back to the old thing, like, yeah, that would have cost a little more in CG. This way, you just go
copy
paste, cut and paste a couple of them.
Well, they done that with the Inquiry class when Riker's talking about the toughest kind of hardest ship, and just copy paste and change the minor details. Yeah, there is 3 main sections to it, 3 star bases if you like, and then we see Discovery in the side in one of their ship fleet yards.
Yeah, dock.
That thing. Yeah, what is it? Stardom? No.
Yeah, this is Star. I mean, it's a shipyard. Star dock.
It's a shipyard. That's it.
They're working on it.
Words are a problem.
Today.
And Discovery's
dry dock. But there we go.
Well, it's very, very dry space, isn't it?
They just use the Navy term. They don't,
And it's no, I do think they call it space dock, to be fair. And you see Discovery just chilling in there. I'm thinking this ship's still there after all these decades. Like, ships don't last that long usually. But whatever, okay. And we go over Discovery.
They have some master restorators, like they do now. They restore paintings and walls.
They have a Geordie LaForge that takes them to a museum. Yeah. I wonder if the Space Museum is still... I don't think it exists that far in the future, which would be really sad if it didn't. But we do see the little worker dots, the little worker bees, doing something to the registration on Discovery. And I couldn't figure it out initially, Gray, until a little bit after. I'm like, I paused it and I zoomed in and I went back and I was like, what is this the B? Is this what is it, a different number or a letter? I don't know. Yeah. You don't see initially anyway. The whole point of this mission, Burnham will actually lead Discovery's last ever mission, which is a bit bittersweet, a bit somber, a bit sad. Now, I asked Ray to go and watch this, and I hope he has. The Star Trek short Calypso, yeah?
Yep, I went back to see it. Mm-hmm.
Good, man. Good. Did you watch it after or before the episode?
I decided to watch it after.
Yeah, do it. I mean, it doesn't spoil it. I guess watching it in order.
No, I think it kind of continued,
That's true. That's one way of looking at it. So the mission is to pay off the Star Trek short Calypso, which I love. It's a really, really nice touch because otherwise they would have just pissed all over canon, because the shorts are canon whether you like it or not. And I think they've done the right thing to pay this off. Just briefly, without getting into any detail, Calypso was a 10-15 minute short a couple of seasons ago where they find this random guy, pilot, finds Discovery just afloat in space, deep space. No one's been on the ship for 1,000 years, many years. And Zora, the ship, is still there and a bit lonely and bored. It's a really, really good short, actually. Did you enjoy that short, Gray, or not?
Yeah, actually, that was probably the best short of the ones they did, because most of the ones they did
are goofy and silly. Yeah. That was a red directive emission, effectively. And it is a nice little tie into Calypso, as they mentioned the word Craft, who is the real character in the short. That passed me by, Gray. Well done. That passed me by, that comment. Was that the guy's name? The pilot guy? The guy that went on
the guy's name in Calypso was Craft.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
So I immediately remembered when Burnham said something about, like, she said that, we have to go bring the ship out there, and that it involves a craft. And then she was going like, I don't know what that means. It's a starship. It's a place. I don't know. And that was how it was left. So when he said my name was Kraft, because I forgot that part, and I go, oh, there you go, ding,
ding. Yeah, it was.
The only thing I still don't get though is that because when I finished watching Calypso again, I'm not exactly sure, unless I was missing something somewhere. Is why did they go out there, and why did they leave it for 1,000 years just so Zora could save one person?
So this is the thing. This is what some people have got some issues with. So she has to go out and reproduce what happened in that short, and it's a red directive mission, as we said. You see Discovery when she's going over it in the shuttle with her son. You see the nacelles. It's as if they're just finishing off the work. You see the nacelles coming back together again. It's got to look like the old Discovery. That's what they're doing. That's what the little worker bees were doing. Taking off the A, and then basically taking away the future technology from it, taking the cells and getting rid of the programmable matter, bringing it back together again, and then taking out all the way the other bits, mods and cons. And then they have to take it out into deep space. She doesn't find out why properly, Burnham, because it's a red directive mission. All they say is the ship is going to be left there for a long time for someone else to find her. And that leads it on to her on the bridge herself. Very sad, because the bridge is all quiet and dead and there's no lights. And then it comes to life slowly. Zora talks to her. And it's a nice little sweet conversation between the two. Because let's not forget, the computer on Discovery is very unique because of all the technology, and not technology, the knowledge it got from a couple of seasons back, if you recall, from that sentient being type thing in space. And they have a little sweet embracing kind of conversation. And it's an order from Burnham to Zora, you've got to stay there, we can't break it. And the ship's not going to do that, the computer does what it's told. And then it's a flashback, you just see flashbacks of her with the crew probably many years or decades prior, probably their last time on the ship together. I thought you would see some more of the crew on the ship at the end, but I guess, Gray, they were filming scenes at the end and maybe couldn't get people and more difficult. So they done what they could. But you saw Lieutenant Detmer again, that lady I talked about that there was the pilot and it's got the thing going on with the eyes, which we didn't see her at all maybe in this season, but she is there. So it was very kind of sweet. What was your whole what's your whole take on that whole scene, Gray, anyway? Like, was it done well? Was it too cheesy? What was?
I guess it was done well for what it was trying to accomplish. So I guess if you were, and there's not many of them, I understand, but if you're a real fan of Discovery, and there's like 5 of them out there, and sorry, then they would probably really key in on it a lot more than I would, and some other people would. But to me, it was, even though it was well done, more or less, I just did not get that same feeling. When I got that feeling when TOS left, I got that feeling when TNG finished, DS9, Voyager. With this one, that feeling just wasn't there.
Yeah, because you weren't invested in the series in general. You weren't really a fan of it in general.
No, I agree. You're right. But it goes beyond that, because, like I said, you don't know who these people were. Half the crew on the bridge, or more than half the crew on the bridge, I couldn't even tell you their names.
Yeah.
They never really spent time in the 5 years that show was on to get to know any of the crew. But on all the other shows,
they did great, just not enough. They did focus on 1 or 2 of them, but that was it.
Yeah, exactly.
Briefly.
But in the previous series, you knew the whole bridge crew, period. And they spent a lot of time developing those characters. But here they didn't. And so half the characters that are coming back, oh yeah, I'm like, who are you again? I mean, well, I don't remember you. We don't know anything about you. I couldn't care less about you.
Yeah.
And stuff. So it just didn't ring with me. It just didn't. The couple that did, of course, like Saru and or whatever, did, but I don't know. It just wasn't the same.
I was listen, it's not one of my favorite shows of all time, and let's say next week we'll probably we'll be doing a like not only a season overall review, but a series overall review, and kind of what else is coming up in Star Trek in the near future. But I was emotional during this because while I nor love or hate Discovery, I'm somewhere in the middle. It's got bad times. It fixed itself a lot, and I kind of sad to see it go. It's also because we won't see Star Trek for a while. But I was emotional during this whole thing, and it did get me by the feelers, to be fair. And especially so that, I don't know why this got to me so much. When we see Discovery look like her old self and leave space dock, I missed it for a split second and I went back. The whole, what's available in the sector, all the starships that are there have a guard of honor for Discovery. She leaves. I thought that bit was pretty cool, Gray. Were you like, meh, I don't really care, or did you love it, or were you indifferent?
I thought the concept of doing that was fine. There's two things I didn't like, but some of it's just a personal thing. I didn't like the original Discovery to begin with. So when they brought it back to its original design, it's ugly looking and it's a flat pancake. So
yeah,
I would rather have seen when they finished, the Discovery, but just before that, which wasn't great either, but it was much better than the flat pancake. So I couldn't get too excited about that. When they set up the whole thing with all the ships, in theory, it was great. But did you notice the ships? The ships were like hundreds and hundreds of shuttles. There was no other starships there.
Were they in the background, maybe? I need to go back and double check.
Nothing. You go back and look, and you're going to see nothing but hundreds and hundreds of cut and paste shuttles. You would think that they would bring in ships of the fleet.
That's disappointing.
To have a nice send off, a ship over here.
That is disappointing.
Or including the shuttles too, but they didn't, and I'm like, oh really? So this really important ship gets sent off to the last mission. You got a bunch of measly shuttles for it to go through.
They already had the digital models of these other starships. They could have used them pretty easy, man.
I mean, they had they didn't have a lot, but they had enough that they could have put them there. Or maybe they could have cut and pasted a couple just to make it look a little more nice. But it was, it wasn't too exciting. It was just kind of like I said, the theory was good, the idea was good, and they, and stuff. But the execution was crap.
Yeah. I didn't actually. I need to go back. I believe you, Gray. That's disappointing if that's the case. Like, bit more of an effort. So I'll go back and look at that again. Actually, the guys at Trek Yards will probably have a field day with that one. So
they'll talk about the shuttlecrafts for like 3 hours.
Hey, we don't knock any other YouTubers on this.
Sorry, guys.
Man.
I know. I just
Yeah. So the last thing. It would not be a Star Trek review if we didn't finish this whole episode with a little minor nitpick. It's kind of our thing. So as she leaves the Guard of Honor, a Discovery is going to do, not even a black alert, it's let's jump. She does the jump, spore jump, and then disappears. Now, there's a problem with that. There's no one on board the Fekins ship apart from Burnham. And you need, unless they've changed it, and if they've changed it, a little simple line of dialogue to say it's automated would have fixed it.
Exactly.
You need a spore navigator, and that was Stamets. And that's why they were getting rid of the thing, because they couldn't get any more pilots after that, and it wasn't something you could reproduce easy. So
right. So the whole theory of all that was shot right out the window, because that means, spore drive's back. You can do it any way you can now. No, they should have just flown off on their own, like with normal warp or whatever, and that's it.
I think it's because it was deep space. But then, when it gets to deep space and its location that it's supposed to be in, Gray, if that's far away, how the hell does Burnham get back? Oh, the pathway drive. The pathway drive we know nothing about.
As soon as I heard that where the ship was, the ship was going to be abandoned at whatever, I'm going like, so who's picking up Burnham to bring her back?
She must take one of the last shuttles. Is all I can think with a pathway driving,
which then makes our theory of why did you do the spore drive even better, because you didn't need it. If Burnham had to come back, even if it took her a week to get back or something, let's say, you didn't need the spore drive jump. You could have got there on regular, warp, transwarp, Pathfinder warp. whatever.
Warp. Oh, I want that.
Yeah, I just
That's a
came up with it.
fascinating technology.
So,
I want to know
but
more,
they didn't
Gray.
do it, and so the ending was like, oh no, don't do that, and just and I'm like,
Of
oh,
course, they were going to end up with a spore jump, though, man, just to piss you off and other people as well.
exactly.
Right, Gray. This would be. I think we've done well to keep this to an hour and a half, considering the
Yeah.
episode was an hour and 26 minutes long. Give me your score review for the episode and why, please.
I went 7 out of 10, and I'm being kind only because there were some very good scenes interspersed with the very confusing scenes, and a couple of dumb scenes. So I couldn't in my right mind go above the 7 really. The second half I thought was much better than the first half. The first half to me was kind of disjointed. So the second half seemed to be a little more cohesive, I guess, or whatever, if you want to call it that.
Okay.
But in total, like I said, I can't really go past the 7. I just can't. Too much stuff was just
Fair
not
enough.
happening for me.
Okay. Well, we'll talk more about the series like next week anyway.
Yeah.
So watch out for that video. I sometimes do this, and sometimes Gray does this as well. I'm actually taking it down half a mark because see, once you go through this, it's kind of cathartic and
I knew I convinced you.
and it works. Well, you gave it a 7 out of 10. I did give it a 9 out of 10, but I changed it to an 8.5 out of 10. I kind of mentioned here it's mostly perfect for me and what I want to see and enjoy it. There are some nitpicks, but there's some things that are a little bit more. It was a little bit disjointed in the first section, and there's some nitpicks throughout it that don't make it kind of perfect. I thought it finished on a high note. Some people may disagree with that. They paid off Calypso, which a lot of Star Trek shows would have not done, and just forgotten that they'd done that originally. So good to see. But yeah, I think we'll probably call it there, Graham. Let's say we'll be back next week with a kind of another overall special on what's going on in Star Trek and the review of Discovery in general. But until the next time, Gray, do your thing and say goodbye to people.
Live long and prosper, everybody.
Thanks for coming along, guys.